You're not gonna make it. No, you ain't gonna make it. You're not gonna make it, but you can. Welcome to You're Not Gonna Make It, the show where I discuss threats that may prevent you from making it. I'm Kevin. Very recently, the CEO of United Healthcare Insurance got shot in the back of the head. And that may or may not have been very cool. But what is not cool for sure is United States healthcare. I don't know what better way to describe it than saying it's fucked. It's just completely fucked. We've got Medicare, Medicaid, private insurance, some other shit probably, uninsured people. You know, there was a period of time where I was working at a home health agency, so we had to deal with insurance and making claims and all that stuff. I still don't understand the system. And I'm pretty sure that's on purpose. It's meant to be very complicated to obfuscate the fact that it's completely fucked. For those that don't know, maybe those in different countries, what happens is, in America, you have a job. If you're lucky, you get health insurance through that job. You have to pay a lot every month. You have to pay a lot when you go to a doctor, hospital, whatever. Something bad happens, well, all that money that you paid doesn't really matter that much. You're going to have to pay a lot. And if you live, you're going to have to pay a lot. Now, similarly to other countries, we do pay with our taxes into healthcare, except that healthcare goes to old people and poor people and the pockets of politicians, I assume, because it's not going to us. And in this system, a lot of people don't make it. I mean, I'll speak for myself. I've had something up with my hand for a while, and at the time of recording, it's December, but I'm sure as hell not going to see anyone about this because if I need to start paying something ongoing, well, January is right around the corner. So it's going to restart my deductible, which means all that money I paid in December was just a waste. So because of this shit-ass system, I am living in, I'm not going to exaggerate. It's not like pain, right? But I got something up with me. And instead of getting help, I'm waiting because if I get help now, I will be penalized for it financially. You understand how fucked that is as a system? And I forgot to mention too, if you don't have healthcare with your job, you have to get it on your own. And that costs like 4 times more, 3 times more. So that's something very fun that the United States has invented. They tie healthcare to your employment, which means you are even more of a slave to your boss. Because if you get fired or try to look for something else, you might not be covered if you break your ankle. Because if you break your ankle, you may go bankrupt if you're not covered properly. I know of many people who will just not seek care because it costs too damn much. They'd rather see what happens instead of paying. Because even just to find out, you got to pay like a lot. I know someone who they had to go to the emergency room recently because they had some issue with it. It's like, this pain in the chest. And turns out nothing was wrong with them. They just needed some ibuprofen, but they couldn't have known that because they're not a doctor. To find that out, cost about $1,000. And God forbid they needed an ambulance to get to the hospital because that would have cost, I think, about $800 or more. Which all that does is discourage curiosity. You can't even find out what's healthy, what's supposed to be, correct with your body, what's wrong. Because even figuring that out costs you a shit ton of money. You can go bankrupt because you're curious if this feels normal. And what's interesting is that the US spends more in healthcare than basically every other developed country. And I'm only talking about those. I'm not talking about a developing country because their shit is fucked even more. Honestly, it's it's completely fucked up. You're going to die probably. Or they'll have you drinking herbal tea or some shit. Strictly speaking, in terms of developed countries, the US, the citizens pay more and they get less. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of the best doctors in the world, some of the best care in the world comes from the US. But you're going to have to pay for it. Way, 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 way more than anyone else. Not only that, you're going to have a hard time figuring out how much you have to pay for it because the billing system is completely fucked up. They have codes, they have all this stuff. I know the human body being tied to finances is going to introduce some complexity for sure, but the way they do it is intentionally, horribly complicated. And even still, with all these options, as expensive as they are, there are millions who are uninsured or underinsured. For comparison's sake, this is how it is in some other countries. Canada, they have lower costs overall, but they're longer wait times. And if it's not an emergency, you could be waiting quite a bit. Okay, sounds so-so. You have the UK. It's free, but they're facing some funding challenges right now. I assume because of government corruption or some shit. Or maybe a bunch of people coming in. Fucking know. Sometimes there's just not enough money and care to go around, I guess. In Germany, they have a mandatory insurance, but lower costs and shorter wait times. Sounds all right. Japan system, universal coverage, lower costs. I'm not going to double check this now because I don't want to pause the recording, but I think Japan, at minimum, they cover like 70% of everything. And if you want to get other types of insurance or something supplemental, you can cover more. I believe it's something like that. Don't quote me, but it's nice. And it's lower cost overall. But they are having challenges with, everyone being old and not many young people existing in the country, whether because they leave or because people aren't reproducing. And I'll be real with you. When I went to Japan, I had to pay taxes on a lot of stuff because that's what you do when you buy things there. And I'm like, you know what? I'm happy to pay taxes here because when I see everything, I'm like, this shit works. People are healthy. They're systemized over here. It works. So you know what? I support this. Sure. Take my 7%, whatever it is. Go for it. It works. And that's kind of my main gripe with the US healthcare system. We pay a shit ton in taxes and otherwise. People like to complain, oh man, Europe, you had to pay like 50% or more of your fucking, your pay. Okay. But they don't go bankrupt if they break their ankle or they need to check what's going on inside of them. In the US, we pay that and then we go bankrupt for all that shit. So what are we paying for? Not only do we have to pay taxes, but then the insurance, then the deductible premium every month, and then you still got to pay. So what's happening here? At this point, we are spending as much as those Europeans, but we're not getting as much. No bang for buck there. So, maybe we could try something else. We'll see. And I mentioned before that poor people get a kind of free healthcare here in this country. But there's a funny middle ground where you're not poor enough to get that, but you are too poor to have a job that provides you with employer health insurance. So there is a gray area where you are just fucked. And that's especially true if you have a chronic condition, long-term illness or something like that. And it's not just financial, the issue with this healthcare system. It's just that they don't really focus on preventative care, as in lifestyle changes. They don't say, hey, you got something up with you. If you do this and this and this for months, maybe a couple years, you'll be good. They don't say that. They say, hey, you have this issue. Here's some drugs. Here's someone you can go to and pay extra from your insurance because they're definitely not in network. So there's a fundamental philosophy in the system that makes it so that it costs a lot to begin with, but they don't help people get on a path where they have to pay less overall, as in, changing their lifestyle. They don't give a shit about that. It's way easier to just assign a drug and then just kick you out. This whole thing has caused some people to become what is called a medical tourist. They'll go to another country, they'll go to Mexico, Turkey, something, and they'll get procedures done over there and then come back to the US because the plane ticket to go to and from that country and have the procedure over there costs less than just doing it over here to begin with. That's how wildly expensive it is. I hear this happen a lot, especially with dental procedures. And that's another thing too that's up with this healthcare system. They consider dental to be a different thing than just healthcare. I think some other countries do this as well, but in the US, they're completely separate, no overlap whatsoever. But the thing is, dental is part of your health. Same for vision, which is usually separated as well. Those are part of your health. It wouldn't surprise me if they spun off another aspect of health as a separate thing. In the future, you might have your health care, vision care, dental care, and fat care, which, that I feel like that's actually pretty possible. Because, hey, if they can, give you microtransactions for that, then yeah, they can just get more money from you. So why not? Why not? Here's some stats I pulled up. The US healthcare spending has reached $4.3 trillion in 2021, which is about 12,900. So 13,000 per person. I'm assuming per year. 13,000. That is about half of the poverty wage. Sorry, not poverty, minimum wage. I mean, they're basically the same at this point, right? So essentially, spending, if you're averaging it out, costs more than half of what someone would make on minimum wage. Probably worse now. 31.6 million people under age 65, so under what would be Medicare, were uninsured in 2020. And that was probably a bad time. So when COVID really brought a lot of health issues to the surface there. Medical bills are the leading cause of US bankruptcies. That is unsurprising. I bet second is student loans. But yeah, these bills are pretty crazy. God forbid you get a serious illness. You're going to have to pay for the rest of your life if you live that long. US life expectancy is lower than in other developed countries despite higher healthcare spending. So as I said, our bang for buck is dog shit. You get bang for fuck all in this country. You pay a lot, you get something, but man, it's not worth it. Administrative costs account for 25% of total US hospital spending. And it doesn't surprise me because every time I've been in the hospital, you have to fill out the same fucking form like 5 times. There's like no continuity in terms of the information you give these healthcare professionals. It's a huge waste of time. And this shows me how well they're keeping track of records there. Obviously not everyone. Some good care, some places, right? But I bet you can relate. You go somewhere, have you fill out a form, you wait 20 minutes, they have you fill out another form with very similar information, you wait another half hour, you go talk to someone for the first time, and they speak to you as if they did not take a single fucking look at all the forms you spent 15 minutes filling out. And it just feels like, wow, I'm cared for. Whenever I talk about issues here, I usually try to come up with some kind of solution or recommendation. But man, it's rough. It's rough to do it for this one. I had to look some up. What can you do about this? One piece of advice could be vote for politicians who prioritize healthcare reform. What the fuck? The drug companies are the ones funding the politicians, so I'm not sure you're gonna have a lot of luck there. Now, we're about to enter a Trump presidency with RFK Jr., who's really health conscious. Maybe there'd be some changes here, but I don't know. He seems a little like a quarter retarded, so I don't know if he's going to do helpful stuff. But man, I think any kind of change would be welcome at this point because the way it's going now is not working. It's not working. So you know what? If there's some collateral damage in a shakeup of some sorts, let's try it out. Something else could be to these recommendations are dog shit that I found. Understand your try to understand your insurance. That's what you should do. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of rough. My advice, I mean, practically with this stuff is to see if you can, if you have a chronic thing, fill up your HSA because it's basically tax-free money to pay for that. Beyond that, I would say focus on preventative measures because if you're not sick, you won't need treatment. So try to be as healthy as you can. Don't eat dog shit food all the time. Be more active. Be more mentally sound. Be happier. Watch comedies. Just hang out with friends. Just be better on the inside out. That way it's less likely you'll need to talk to these fucking mafia members, the medical mafia. Yeah, that's my best advice, honestly. Just try to not get sick. Try to have nothing bad happen to you. If a car hits you, well, I don't know, man. Rest in peace, I guess. My real advice would be to move out of the country. Move to Canada's right there. See if you can go to Europe, somewhere in Asia, maybe. But like Japan or something. I don't know what China's doing. And some of the other places in Asia, I don't know what's going on with them. North Korea's having fun on their own. I don't know. South Korea's probably good. But yeah, you'll just have to do your research if you want to move out of the US. But I guarantee the research you do for that will be less than the research you'll have to do to figure out what the hell is going on with your current insurance. At least it'll be worth it. If the US healthcare system doesn't change, none of us are going to make it. Leave a comment. Tell me about your country's healthcare. Let me know if it's worse or better. And if you're from a developing country, please don't tell me I'm from boopity boppity land and it's bad over here. Yeah, no shit. If you have good healthcare, leave a 5-star review. If you're a dying American, leave a 1-star. Or actually, just leave a 5 anyway. Give me something before you go. All right, see you next time.